Hello and welcome to FP Live. I'm Ravi Agrawal, Foreign Policy's Editor-in-Chief. How will history judge the Biden administration? I guess it depends on which issue you want to focus on, but if you take climate change, for example, there is little doubt that the current White House exerted significant political capital to promote a bold climate agenda. Now, climate activists can criticize the administration's record oil and gas production, and we will have that conversation. But still, the Inflation Reduction Act created massive incentives for companies to invest in clean energy. The question is, will the next White House roll back that progress? In a minute, we will speak with President Joe Biden's chief climate diplomat. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We take some subscriber questions, and I always channel all of them in my own line of inquiry. If you want to put a question to our guests as well, join us. You can use the code FPLive for a big discount. We are also a podcast. You can follow us wherever you get your audio. So, how much has the United States progressed on its clean energy goals, and how much of that will last beyond the current administration? Joining me now is the president's senior advisor for international climate policy. John Podesta is also a former White House chief of staff under President Bill Clinton. John, welcome to FP Live.
Ravi, thank you for having me on.
It's a real pleasure. So let's start with a question on everyone's minds. Trump is a climate skeptic. He likes to say, drill, baby, drill. If he tries to undo the Inflation Reduction Act, what happens to the advances your administration has made on prioritizing clean energy?
Well, look, I think the investments that are being made in the United States are very firm. I think they're happening all across the country, north, south, east, west. They were spurred on by the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the largest investment in climate change and clean energy, not just in the history of the United States, but in the history of the world. That's resulted in investments across the country, announced investments of nearly $500 billion, or more than 330,000 jobs that have been created already in these industries. Those jobs are there now, and those factories are being built. I think to try to walk away from that would be not only a mistake from the perspective of the climate and the existential threat that we face from climate change, but it would be a terrible error in terms of economic policy. You've seen clean energy have bipartisan support, I think, over the last couple of years as those industries have spread investments in batteries and electric vehicles from Georgia to Tennessee to Ohio and Michigan. You've seen deployment of new renewable power, all across the country, with solar power now being the largest amount of new generation being installed in the United States. We've seen the solar supply chain return to the United States. So to say, forget it and turn your back on that, I think would be difficult to do, because I think we've now seen a number of Republican members of Congress say that don't get rid of the Inflation Reduction Act and the businesses that the innovation that spurred. So getting the votes in a very narrowly divided Congress would be difficult to begin with. But to go back to the premise of your question, there's no question that the president-elect, the former president, Donald Trump, has said climate change is a hoax. He doesn't take the problem seriously. I think he's an outlier in the world with respect to that, and we're feeling the effects of extreme weather that's climate-induced all across the world. So I think there are things that he will do that will either attempt to reverse policies that we put in place. But with respect to the basic investments that have been, again, accelerated by the Inflation Reduction Act, I think those are here to stay.
Beyond the current role you have, you are, of course, one of the Democratic Party's premier strategists. And I'm curious whether in the implementation of the IRA, you and the Biden administration team sort of focused on so-called red states as areas in which to deploy a lot of the subsidies and the job creation?
Well, I think what the policy that's baked into the way that the president formulated the Inflation Reduction Act was intended to drive investment to places that have been left out and left behind. Traditional energy communities, places that supported coal-fired power in the past, the disadvantaged communities, et cetera. So the net effect of that, by giving bonuses to making investments in those places that I think have felt a little bit abandoned in the modern economy, has ended up directing those investments. Whether that wasn't the political strategy, that was a strategy that President Biden and Vice President Harris undertook because they wanted to see the fruits of this energy transition and the power of investment going to places that needed the support. The manufacturing renaissance that we've seen going on in the Midwest and the Mid-South is really just astonishing. And so that was conscious, that was strategic, but it was really aimed at, as I said, making sure that those investments were reaching people that had, for literally decades and decades, powered our economy. They needed a place in this new economy, and I think we've delivered on that.
So just on that, let's say we buy everything you just said. Could the case be made then that you and the Biden administration have formulated smart energy policies, but failed to market it well enough?
Well, I think that there's no question that people, it takes a while after you pass legislation for average citizens to feel the effects of it. They did feel the effect. There are literally tens of thousands of people who are, for example, purchasing electric vehicles and getting a $7,500 credit at the point of sale when they purchase the vehicle. It's deducted from the bill that they're paying, and that's spurred new vehicle sales of both hybrids and fully electric vehicles. But I think it takes a while for the impact and the effect to be felt by citizens down at the street level. We tried to do everything we could to make sure that people understood the benefits that were flowing to the United States, but by spurring this the level of economic activity and growth and innovation that I mentioned. But I think that will have a long tail. People will feel it for years to come. When it comes to trying to judge instantly whether the effect of it's had on the economy is something that people quickly understand. I have to say that other economic issues kind of tended to overwhelm it. I think the effect of inflation that was induced as a result of COVID and supply chain challenges, and then moved through the system, was probably the dominant economic question that was on people's mind. Even though inflation had come down substantially as a result of, I think, a lot of hard work by the administration and by the Federal Reserve, people were still feeling the effect of high prices, and that's tended to dominate the economic discussion. But I think people, if you look at the underlying data, there's still very strong support for clean energy, for these clean energy policies, for deployment of renewables, still strong support for the movement towards cleaner forms of transportation. So you didn't see the public turn against clean energy. Indeed, I think you see super majorities in favor of it. And so I think the challenge that an incoming administration will have if it wants to reverse policy will be quite substantial, because I think people, they want cleaner air, they want cleaner water, they understand that climate change is happening, that they want the federal government to take action. And I think that the kinds of investments that we've been making have been really the envy of the world, and I think they've spurred other countries to get into the international side of this, to take similar actions, and you see that in GX in Japan, which you're familiar with, or what's going on in Europe with green industrial strategy, et cetera. I think this notion that we need to build things to deal with climate change, not just shut things down, has really taken hold as the dominant strategy sort of going forward, whether you're in a middle income country, a developing economy, or an advanced economy. The need to transition away from fossil fuels, to invest in clean energy sources, is being led with an investment-led strategy, and that was pioneered, I think, by President Biden and Vice President Harris through the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law.